Crafting all night long with Tammy. Spooky projects feel so jammy. Fake Bake Diaries, our delight. Halloween, we own the night.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fake Bake Diaries. Today we're going to be making this amazing cauldron. It's not hard to make and it turns out looking absolutely fabulous. So come and join me as I make this fantastically fun cauldron. To start this project, I have a pumpkin from Michael's. When you're choosing a pumpkin, choose a pumpkin that's more short and rounded rather than the longer oval ones. That will work much better for a cauldron. I also need my BOHS Foam Clay. I'll start by conditioning the clay. Next, I'll take my clay and roll it into a worm. If you'd like some tips on how to roll worms, you can check this video out here and it will tell you all about worms. I'm using my gel Gorilla Glue, but you're probably better off to use the regular blue Gorilla Super Glue. I'm only using the gel right now because I ran out of my other super glue. I'm placing my worm in the place right before the pumpkin gets fatter. There's a natural place on this one where it would sit, where you have this initial bump that goes around. From this point, it goes out again. Right along this point is where I'm placing my worm. I pulled the bottom underneath down just ever so slightly to take off this rounded piece, but I wasn't pulling it down because no matter what you do, you'll never be able to blend that well into the rest of the pumpkins. It's not something that you want to see when you're looking at it, so you have to keep it underneath. I'm going to take more foam clay. Now I want to make the pumpkin look more like a gourd. To do that, I have to put on all of those little lumps. Those lumps are also important because they will represent the bubbles. I have my foam clay, my super glue, I didn't want my foam clay drying out too much while I was doing this. So I took one smaller chunk and rolled a bunch of different sizes of odd-shaped balls. Don't worry if your clay isn't flat all the way around or if there's fingerprints or anything like that on this project. That's a gourd and they are lumpy and bumpy. Let's start gluing these on.
In my kitchen late last night, planning mischief under moonlight. Crafting up a spooky tree, fake poison apple can't be.
I'm pushing them together to make it look like these ones grow together.
On the side, apple red and toxins fake, little kids' hearts gonna quake. Brew it fake, mix it right for a bit of Halloween fright. Ghoulish apple tastes so sweet, fake poison makes it neat. Glossy finish, eerie sheen, scariest snack you ever seen. Crafting marvels for the night, giving tricks a spooky bite. Just stir it slow, make it shimmer, make it glow. Fake's the magic that we make, giving all a little shake. Spooky baskets, gifts abound, laughter rising all around. Lace it up with dream and scream, fake poison apple Halloween gleam.
I finished putting all the lumps and bumps on my pumpkin, and it's looking amazing. Some of my lumps are rolled and they're smoother. For other pieces, I ripped the clay off, and that gave me a more textured look. Next, I need to go back to making worms.
It's the magic that we make, giving all a little shape. Spooky baskets, gifts abound, laughter rising all around. Lace it up with dream and scream, fake poison apple Halloween gleam.
In a haunted house we gather round, ghostly whisper, spooky sound. Craft room filled with tricks and treats, fake bake sweet, no bitter beats. Crafting in a haunted house, witches laughing, ghouls arouse. Pumpkin pies and ghostly cake, Halloween fun for goodness sake. Cobwebs hang from spooky eaves, steal a glance at autumn leaves. Hands at work on witch's brew, crafting magic for the crew. Crafting in a haunted house, witches laughing, ghouls arouse. Pumpkin pies and ghostly cake, Halloween fun for goodness sake.
Now I remember why I'm not a fan of this super glue. It clogs so easily. Do yourself a favor and get the Gorilla Glue with the blue top. These are going to be the handles that go on the sides of my cauldron. If I were to glue them on right now, the weight is going to pull on it. So I'm going to let these dry for a few hours. They don't have to be perfectly dry to glue them on, but I do want them dry enough that they'll hold their shape. I'll put these aside to dry. Now I'm taking 2 styrofoam balls and cutting them in half. I wish I had one size smaller, but I'm going to use what I have. Take a cutter that you can adjust the blade on, find that center, and saw through it. I'm going to glue them in place along this edge. They're only attached in one place. That's okay for right now. I'm going to allow those to dry just like that. Now I'm going to use my foam clay to fill in these gaps.
Pumpkins on display in rows, scarecrows lined up in bows. Ghosts and ghouls, they start to show. It's code orange, let's go.
For this part, I don't need super glue, so I'm going to go to my quick dry tacky glue. If you're using a smooth type of styrofoam, your foam clay won't stick to your styrofoam unless you have glue. Underneath here, there are some gaps. I'm going to fill in again with my clay. I'm having a bit of a difficult time holding this upside down because nothing on here is dry. If you want to do all of your foam clay in one day, maybe put the feet on first.
Our hearts unwind, code orange in the aisles you see. Witches hats fly free. Spooky goodies calling me. Code orange sets us free. Oh, the fake bake here we find. Sparkle stars and webs entwined. Creativity defined. Oh, how.
Off screen, I'm going to do the same thing to these two. I'm going to put glue in these gaps Put foam clay in, make sure I have glue all around the tops, and I'm going to smooth them over with foam clay. It's the next day. Here's the feet. This is actually where it sits. Right now, these bottom bits are still wet because they were sitting this way on the table. That means the clay is leveling out properly to be able to sit flat on the table. If I were to let the feet dry upside down like this, these parts here would puff up and it would make this difficult to stand. That means you might have to come back and forth, flip this over for a bit and flip it back, but you want this to be nice and level. So far, it's looking really cute. I'm loving it. Next, I'm going to be working on a vine that comes up and around. You can leave yours just like this and it would look great as well. I'm using these foam wire ties. These are tie backs for tomatoes. I get them at Dollarama. They are foam and inside there's a piece of wire. That allows these to bend and mold to give my vine a bit of stability. Now you can get rolls of these. The wire and the foam in them don't seem to be as sturdy as these ones. I have 3 that I have glued together. I'm using my Gorilla Glue. To glue them together, take a look at the wire that's inside and push it so that it's even to this end. You feel down and the wire is going to end. It doesn't go all the way. So you can see here, if I push, the wire comes through. I want to insert one wire into the next wire. Where I connect them, I want them to be stable. This part here doesn't have any wire. It's no good. Take that off. Now I'm going to snip off about this much foam. I'm not cutting through the wire, just the foam. And I end up with a good amount of wire to slide into the next one. It's easier to do with the straight ones. Glue them first before you bend them. Okay, so I'll do the same thing with this one. Then you take your Gorilla Glue. See how this wire is pushed up? Now I'm taking this wire and pushing it in the same hole next to the other wire. Push them together and leave that to dry. If you want to extend this one, you do the same thing. You cut off the excess and add another one on exactly the same way. I'll put these aside. These have been drying for about 20 minutes. I need to let them dry longer. I'm also going to take a little bit of duct tape. I'm going to wrap it around the joint. I'll give this a good hour to dry while I work on the next part. I have here a little hand drill. I think it's used for jewelry. I recently purchased one and I find it to be quite handy for things like this. It comes with these little drill bits. And you just drill it in. I'm drilling into the top of the stem. You just push. There's no motor, no batteries. I'll use this because I can wiggle it around in there. I'll take my hot knife out if I need it. I will use my hot knife to widen this.
There's a small town down the highway where the fields are all aglow. Folks gather around for fun times, watching autumn leaves blow. October brings the challenge.
I can now fit this in. It's going to be snug, and that's what I want. My cauldron handles are dry enough that I can handle them. They're looking really cute. They still need a few days to fully dry. At this point, they won't lose their shape, and I can glue them on. Find the side you like the best. That will be the front. I'll glue these onto the sides.
The millers built a graveyard with zombies rising high, while Mrs. Lee's old scarecrow winks with a glowing eye. It's the Haunted Yard Showdown every October night, with witches and with goblins giving us a fright. Skeletons and monsters lurking in the dark. It's the Haunted Yard Showdown. Who's got the spookiest spark?
I'm going to give this a little time to set and allow my stem more time to dry. And I'll come back in a couple of hours. I let these dry for an hour and a half. I have a pretty thick worm. I've tapered the vine so that this is the base of the stem and it gets a little smaller along the way. I have my big rolling pin to flatten the middle.
But she's got spooky matters underneath the tattered tatters. Viola's dancing on the mist, waltzing through the autumn twist.
This is still pretty wide and thick, so I'm going to take a little off.
Ghostly fun you can't resist, creeping through the graveyard.
I'll be using my clear Gorilla Glue.
In the spooky dark yard, pumpkin glow reflects her flight, her tails unfurled by twilight, chilling in the eerie night.
Now I'm going to fold this inside wire into the clay.
Viola lifts without a sound. In ghostly loop, she's fairy bound, enchanting every ghastly ground.
This is what it looks like from my side right now. Use the heels of your hands so that you're not making fingerprints all the way across. I just do the best I can. I'm pushing these together. In terms of the thickness of the clay, you need it thick enough that it's going to be able to wrap around and give us some room to be able to bend and twist.
Resist, creeping through the graveyard, though it might seem real hard. She's greeting every card in the spooky dark.
If you have glue that's going to spurt out, just sop it up a little bit. You don't want that glue to come out over the top. Right now, I'm sticking them together as quickly as I can.
Enchanting every ghastly ground.
Now I'm going to take all of it and very gently roll it back and forth to try to blend this seam in. Now I'm going to take some water and smooth my seam. You can work at smoothing your seam as much as you want. Mine is okay like this. I know I'm putting a pattern on there and twisting it a little bit. That's going to hide the majority of this seam anyway. I've pulled out a few tools. When I look at the stem, to me, that looks like a circle that's being pulled up. These are clay tools. I'm going to use them to help me create texture in the stem.
Snake in the apple, coiled so tight.
This is another reason why you want your clay to be fairly thick. When you use foam clay, you have to make it deeper than you want to make it because the foam clay will puff up on you and you'll lose some of that detail.
It's that time of year, cold orange is here. Shelf stock full of fright, decor in orange light. Crafters hustle and race, pumpkin spice embrace. Witch hats and candy corn, spooky things adorn. Cold orange, let's go, haunted dreams on show. Goblins in the aisles, making spooky smiles. Ghosts and ghouls we make, props and crafts we bake. Skeletons and more, Halloween decor. Halloween's in sight, craft bustle and race. Pumpkin spice embrace, witch hats and candy corn, spooky things adorn. Coat of arms, let's go, haunted dreams on show. Goblins in the aisles, making spooky smiles. Ghosts and ghouls we make, props and crafts we bake, skeletons and more, Halloween decor. Halloween's in sight, craft till morning light. Spiders on the wall, creepy fun for all. Coat of worms, let's go, haunted dreams on show. Spiders on the wall, creepy fun for all, making spooky smiles. Ghosts, making spooky smiles.
Knock on the door tonight, masked faces and spooky sights. Got the basket in my hand, filled with treats for the band. They reach out with a grin for the goodies held within. But oh no, what have I done? Crafts instead of Halloween fun. Trick or craft in the bags, oven clay and paper tags. No candy, just glue and paste. Disaster in their haste. Saw the confusion in their eyes. No sugary sweet surprise. Pumpkin faces start to frown. My big mistake in this town. Hoping they
Going to put this into the hole.
next house they scamper free. But no more tricks from me. Trick or craft in the bags, oven clay and paper tags. No candy, just glue and paste. Disaster in their haste. Eerie nights we search for crafts, Halloween's coming fast. Tammy's got the tricks and treats, making ghouls out of foam sheets. Fake Bake Diaries on the screen, glitter witches quite the scene. Glow in the dark apples too, sweet clay ghosts for me and you. Crafting all night long with Tammy, spooky projects feel so jammy. Fake Bake Diaries, our delight. Halloween, we own the night. Sparkling stripes on witches' hats, pumpkin pies and skeleton bats. Creepy spiders made of wood, Tammy tips are just so good. Candy corn and plastic eyes, Fake Bake Diaries, no surprise. Bring the spooky to our home, with craft ideas we'll never roam. Crafting all night long with Tammy, spooky projects feel so jammy. Fake Bake Diaries, our delight. Halloween, we own the night. In the night so dark and deep, where the shadows love to creep, Lilith rises from her sleep. Pink skeleton queen, secrets keep. Golden crown
This
on
wire
her
came
head
through for
gleams.
some reason.
Crystal
We're going to snip it
ball
off.
shows eerie dreams. Walking through the haunted scenes, she street gleams, where the ghost light streams. Lilith, Lilith, shining bright in the spooky Halloween night. Skeleton queen, a chilling sight, dancing in the pale moonlight. Bones that rattle like a tune underneath October moon. Every ghoul will listen soon. Lilith's reign will make them swoon. Through the misty graveyard's haze, Lilith casts her haunting gaze, glowing ribs in ghostly blaze, leading all in spectral praise. Lilith, Lilith, shining bright in the spooky Halloween night. Skeleton queen, a chilling sight, dancing in the pale moonlight. Lilith, Lilith, shining bright in the spooky Halloween night. Skeleton queen, a chilling sight, dancing in the pale moonlight.
I like the way this looks. I also need to find 2 plastic straws to put in here so that these holes don't close on me. Now I need to let this dry for 2 to 3 days, and I'll be back then. This has been drying for 48 hours and it's ready to paint. I used the bits of styrofoam that I cut off to keep the loops for the vines open while it dried, and they just pull out. While I was bending the vine, an end of a wire popped out. They can pop up and through the green stem. To prevent that from happening, don't just take the wire and put it into the next one so that there are 2 wires. Twist the 2 wires together, then put this back on. That is going to help any issues of it popping through. To fix this, I'll put a little piece of clay on later, let that dry, and I'll be able to paint over that after. Otherwise, it's looking really good. You can paint this any way you want. As much as I love the pastel colors, for Halloween, I tend to like brighter greens, oranges, blacks, purples. So I'll be painting mine based on the colors that I like, but you go ahead and paint yours, whatever colors you like. I'm going to start off with greens. I have this leaf green, and then I have a neon green, and I'll start with those. I have finished painting the base coat. It looks fabulous. I really love my green on here, so I'm going to kick it up a notch and make it glow in the dark. I've used this brand before and really like it. I purchased it from Amazon, so it's time to use it again. When you're using glow-in-the-dark paint, try not to let it clump up like it clumps here. If you get buildup in any area, take your brush and brush that out. With glow-in-the-dark paints, I find if you get a bit of a buildup in there, it will make your color look quite milky and thick. Glow-in-the-dark paint also comes in different colors. So if you're using pinks, you can get one with a pink tone that you'd put over top. You can get one with a blue tinge over top and it will glow blue for you. I'm going to let my glow-in-the-dark paint dry. Once that's dry, I'm going to take my Duraclear gloss varnish and cover this in its entirety. I will be back once the gloss is finished drying. After I sealed it, I realized that this top portion right in here should be painted green and not black. I went back, used my white chalk paint to cover over the black. Not a big deal, easily fixed. Once the white chalk paint dries, I'll come back and paint it green. This season, whether it's Halloween or Christmas, I am totally and completely in love with adding both copper and brass into my projects. If you haven't used it before, I'm going to be using Rub and Buff. It is absolutely amazing. To learn all about Rub and Buff, you can watch this video right up here. It will tell you all about Rub and Buff, the different colors you can use, how you can use it. It is amazing. Run, 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 and get yourself some. If you're interested, I'll put the link below. If you like the idea, please support the channel by using the links below. The one I'll be using today is called Autumn Gold. It is absolutely perfect for the autumn. It gives a copper tone, but not in a harsh red. And this is the one I'll be starting out with.
She woke up early, kids still asleep, dreaming of a place where she can just be. Husband calling now, but she needs a break. One single day for her sanity's sake. Lock me in the craft room just for a day. Fake Bake Diaries gonna take me away.
Now I'm going to use the gold leaf to do a few highlights.
Glitter and glue, need a little silence. What else can she?
Isn't this gorgeous? I can see a beautiful copper, gold highlights, the dark brown. It is absolutely stunning. I really wanted this vine to stand out, so I won't be adding any metallics to anywhere else. This is what I want it to stand out during the day. At night, it'll glow in the dark. I love how this project turned out.
Sugar rush sweetness, oh, it makes you